How do you like the conference so far? And the deliverables you can think of at this stage? Anything of special interest from your department's perspective?
Well, I represent, as you said, the Internet of Things unit in the European Commission in DG Connect. And what we are doing is we are looking at all the policy research aspects of the Internet of Things. Of course, one of the major aspects is also ensuring that the solutions that are put in the market for consumers but also for businesses are secure. So security in general and cybersecurity even more are quite important for us. So in a conference like CYBERSEC, the conference of today, what we are trying to do is always learn something new. We are trying to see what the various stakeholders around our technology think, how we can make the conditions better for businesses but also for citizens. So one of the, let's say, outcomes or deliverables I would like to see from today's conference would be a bit more knowledge about how we can make it better, not only for building the Internet of Things technology, putting more products in the market, but also increasing a bit the trust of consumers and businesses in the technology and the product. So this would be the best outcome for me.
It's one of the increasingly common strategies among hackers to use Internet of Things hardware as part of the strategy of hacking systems. Right? Mm-hmm. So they place different viruses at Internet of Things devices instead of typical server-based activities. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think this is an increasing trend? This is something that, along with Internet of Things in general, will have a progressive trend, which means that your role will be increasingly challenging?
Mm-hmm. Indeed, this is a trend. We have seen it in recent months and years that people take advantage of the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses in these relatively cheap, usually, things that are interconnected. And they take advantage mainly of weaknesses in the design and the production of these devices. For example, standard passwords or lack of processes to update software and things like that. So this is a trend we would like to, if not stop, we would like to limit the speed of this trend. And we are doing several things together with the industry and with citizen associations. We are trying to promote what we call a security by design approach, whereby the products that are put in the market are not designed just with functionality in mind, but also with security in mind. And I know this is a security-based conference, but we should not also forget the privacy aspect. So privacy by design as well is quite important. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to convince, first of all, the industry and the stakeholders that when designing products, there are some minimum requirements that should be respected. And we want to identify these minimum requirements together with them, so the manufacturers, the producers, but also the consumers, the end users. And we want to do that at a global level as well, because let's face it, some of these products are not produced in Europe. Mm-hmm. They are probably produced somewhere else, or components of these products are produced somewhere else and integrated in Europe.
Somewhere else is a delicate way to put it.
Outside Europe. This is what I mean. So I mean outside Europe. So that's why we are also in very close collaboration with our trade partners and like-minded countries, and we engage in policy dialogues and research collaboration, standardization efforts, in order to make sure that this minimum set of requirements is there for everyone, and the products that make it or the components that make it into the European market respect these minimum requirements of security and privacy, and they are, let's say, the trend of taking advantage of the vulnerabilities of IoT is at least, let's say, diminishing, decreasing.
The other day I moderated a conference for 200 teachers with experts from a security company instructing teachers what they should look out for when talking to kids who are exposed to different risks. One of those experts brought a watch to this workshop. This watch, as he described it, costs like $10, $12, maybe $15, which means very cheap. But it has an independent GPS system. It's used for children so that parents know where their kids can be. And his his conclusion was that there is absolutely no way this technologically complex device could be produced at the cost of $10 to $15. But where the real price is in the cloud and the data those devices will collect, which can be translated to consumer markets and consumer trends. So do you think this is also where the danger lies? People buy things, but they're not fully aware of what kind of capabilities are available already with the use of those things, using big data, processing of information which has commercial value. Is this a threat?
I think you're touching too many important questions, aspects in one question. So one thing is education. So you said in the beginning about teachers or also parents talking to children who use this type of devices increasingly nowadays. This is important. I think it is important that every one of us exercises some kind of care in the purchase and the use of these type of devices, especially when they are intended for small children. So what I'm trying to say is that we all have also a responsibility to buy and use these devices carefully. Of course, if the devices have been designed with security and privacy in mind, the consumer does not have to have highly technical knowledge in order to operate or in order to protect the children and their personal data. But it is important. We all need to have some basic skills and some basic understanding of what these devices are about, what they are for, and how to protect the use and the data that we use there. Now, of course, we are aware also of this type of products that enter the market. We have been made aware also of toys, connected toys, smart watches for children that can actually expose children to a certain number of vulnerabilities. So I agree with you, we have to take good care of this type of products so that they don't enter the market, or if they enter the market, we take the right steps to protect at least the use by children.
It's a massive challenge given how many products are reaching the market on the smartphone market alone, not to mention smart devices, smart wearables. Big challenge.
It is a challenge,
I do not
yes.
envy you on that job.
Thank you. However, we are taking steps. So, as you know, last year's proposal, the so-called Cybersecurity Act, has also proposed a certification framework. This is a framework. It's not a one-size-fits-all security scheme, but it is a framework that defines the possibility to develop schemes for different types of products. So,
which is a very important development, isn't it?
It is very
Without
important.
that,
Yes, it is very important, and it is a main point also for our discussion today at the conference. So this certification framework will allow to develop different types of schemes for different types of products that need to satisfy security requirements and different levels of assurance, as we say. We do not believe that the same solution can apply to a critical infrastructure the same way that it can apply to a very cheap consumer-oriented device. And we do not expect that the cost of conformance with the scheme would be too high for a very low cost, for example, connected toy. Nevertheless, there are requirements, security requirements, that need to be satisfied for all types of products. So I would not exclude the possibility to develop a scheme for this type of cheap, consumer-oriented Internet of Things devices that would satisfy a minimum level of security requirements and would be safer and more secure for our children.